Njoku's not hot. He's not sexy. Njoku is mountain shouting, the off-brand of Mountain Dew. It costs less, but it's gonna give you similar production. You going where I'm going, okay? Today, we're gonna use the GOAT from ESPN, Mike Clay's projections for the 2025 season to try and identify the most underpriced players in fantasy football, guys that are set up to absolutely smash their ADP this year, and they're gonna help you build a complete team. All right, the first underpriced player in fantasy right now is Brian Robinson. On average, he's going as the 10th pick in the 7th round. Washington is projected to be a top 6 offense in points per game, according to Mike Clay on ESPN. They're also projected to be first in offensive plays per game at 62.7 and top 7 in rushes per game, at just around 30. And Brian Robinson will be the clear RB1 on an elite offense, and he's priced in a way where there's every single reason to target him in every single draft. Look, while we all agree Brian Robinson isn't some elite generational player, he's extremely serviceable, and he was serviceable last year before his injuries in 2024. He missed a lot of time last year with knee, hamstring, ankle injuries. He missed 3 full games, as well as limited action in 6 additional games where he played less than 50% of the snaps. But before his injuries, he was top 20 in his averages in fantasy points per game, snap share, carries, rushing yards, touchdowns, and total yards. Then you can see on the right side of your screen here, his averages after those injuries just completely plummeted from week 5 onwards. Every metric clearly worse in that span. I mean, is it fair to say that surely all those injuries had a big part to play in his lack of efficiency from week 5 onwards? So I do think he's a very good target, someone that no one's really talking about. You could draft him way late as your RB3 or 4, and he could be a very good asset for you. However, I will say, watch out for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, the rookie out of Arizona. Now, last year out of Arizona, he only played 1 game due to eligibility issues. However, he had a great year at New Mexico back in 2023, averaging 6.3 yards per carry. And in his career, he's averaging about over 100 yards per game in the last 2 seasons. So he's definitely someone that we should be noting. He could be the next Isaiah Pacheco, late round guy that has a bunch of juice that they want to get, into the rotation. So if Brian Robinson falters, I think JCM will be my favorite stash at running back this year. Okay, from one commander to the next commander, Deebo Samuel. Look, I'll be honest with you, I cannot stop drafting Deebo Samuel, and I absolutely love that nobody wants to. I talked about my love for him in a recent video this year on the Must Draft Wide Receivers video, and the top comment on that video, and I love everybody who's watching our content, shout out to Matt Hats here, but he said, "I'm not touching Deebo with the 20-foot pole, sorry." And that comment was all over that video. Nobody wants to draft Deebo Samuel. I hope people keep talking about his weight all the way up until the NFL season, because I wholeheartedly believe you guys are missing out on one of the easiest picks in fantasy football this year. On average, Deebo's going as the 11th pick in the 7th round. He and B-Rob are going side by side, extremely affordable, little to no risk. Remember, Washington's going to be a top 6 offense in points per game, according to Mike Clay's projections, and they're going to be first in offensive plays per game. And don't forget, Deebo could be extremely useful out of the backfield as a rusher in DC. Let's call a spade a spade. Deebo was not good last year. We all agree. Like, career low, 10.2 points per game. Wasn't great. However, he fits this offense in DC like a glove. This team is quick, high tempo, call the play, snap it, get the ball out of Jaden's hands type of flow. Let a guy dominate after the catch. No team in the NFL ran a higher percentage of no huddle offense than the Commanders in 2024 at 62.4%. I mean, the second highest is the Bears at 25.7%. And those no huddle plays, they are constantly looking for guys that can quickly, like, we get the ball out of our hands and let them dominate after the catch. Out, short, to the right, and to the left side of the field. Last year, Deebo, look, he had his flaws, but he still showed to be one of the better yak threats in the entire league. He was 3rd in yak per reception, right behind Mims and Jameson Williams, and he was tied for 5th in yak over expectation, according to Next Gen Stats, right there below A.J. Brown, tied with Chase and Godwin. They will use Deebo Samuel in Washington everywhere. And GM Adam Peters has already highlighted that himself. Check out what he had to say.
I think the way Cliff's offense is run, you can get a catch and run guy like Deebo, and he can play in the backfield, he can play in the slot, he can play outside, he can go deep, but he can also do a lot of screens. So those things just open up the offense.
If you pair the perfect fit, a motivated player with an elite quarterback like Jaden Daniels, mix him in at running back, which Washington needs, I am all in on Deebo Samuel. Regardless of what happens with Terry McLaurin, I think he could be special again in 2025. All right, how about a quarterback that is way too undervalued? That is Brock Purdy. He's going as a 7th pick in the 9th round, but the 49ers are projected to score the 3rd most points in 2025, and they should be. That team is stacked. To be honest, I just don't think Purdy's upside is talked about enough this offseason. Truly, like last year, he scored 18.6 points per game in a down year where he threw 11 less touchdowns than he did in 2023. He only scored 0.6 points per game less this year than he did last year, and he threw 11 less touchdowns. And to be honest, guys, think about this for a second. 18.6 points per game is actually incredibly impressive when you consider there were 41 combined missed games between CMC, Jordan Mason, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall, and George Kittle alone. The 49ers had ridiculous injury bug, and still Brock Purdy found a way to be a startable quarterback week in, week out. I mean, you can make an argument that he overperformed 18.6 points per game with all of those injuries. And when you use our range of outcome tool on the Flock site, we can see the closest year 3 seasons for other quarterbacks compared to Brock Purdy's since 2008. These are the closest seasons. Trevor Lawrence, Watson, Tannehill, and Dak Prescott. 3 out of the 4 of those quarterbacks improved in the following year in their passing yards per game. And I know the 49ers are dealing with some injuries here in camp that are nagging, but this team should be far healthier in 2025. Ayuk will be back at some point off his injury. CMC, all signs point towards him being healthy. Pearsall doesn't have to deal with the chest wound he did last year. And don't forget, typically, the 49ers and Shanahan are an elite offense. I mean, guys, look at the last 3 years. When you look at where the 49ers rank in offensive points per game and offensive yards per game, where is the outlier in your opinion? To me, if you look at the last 3 years, the outlier is their 2024 points per game at 14th amongst the league. Why would that outlier exist? I don't know. Do you think it has anything to do with the 41 combined missed games from their best weapons and their offense? I think there could be positive regression, which means to the mean, for passing touchdowns for Brock Purdy in 2025, and I think he's way too slept on. I'm drafting him everywhere. All right, at the tight end spot, let's talk about David Njoku. David Njoku's not hot. He's not sexy. Njoku is essentially mountain shouting, right? The off-brand of Mountain Dew. It costs less, but it's going to give you similar production. You going where I'm going, okay? So on average, going as the 7th pick in the 8th round, Cleveland is projected to score the least amount of points in 2025. Honestly, I can understand that. They weren't a great scoring team last year. However, they are also projected to throw the 8th most passes per game, right there at 34.7. So in PPR formats, there should be such a safe floor for the pass catchers here. However, this might be strange for me to say, but I don't really agree with Mike Clay's projections for their plays per game. He projects them to have the 4th fewest amount of plays per game this year at 59.8. And I'm going to be honest, I don't agree, because last year the Browns were actually top 3 in total plays per game at 65.8. They were also first in passing attempts per game. And I do think there is some regression on the way, of course, but ask yourself, how did they get in that position last year? Well, number one, their defense couldn't stop anyone. They were 27th in points allowed and middle of the pack in yards allowed. And that led to their offense constantly being on the field behind in games needing to throw the ball. Why would that not be the same this year? And number two, they didn't have a good run game they could count on. Last year, they were bottom 3rd in rushing attempts per game, rushing yards per game, and rushing yards per carry. We all thought Quinshon Judkins could change that in 2025, but obviously his situation makes things complicated with his legal troubles. Will he be available? Will he be? I don't know. So I could see a really similar game script for the Cleveland Browns this year. And Njoku was able to score a career-high 13.5 points per game last year with a quarterback room that consisted of Deshaun Watson, the ghost of Deshaun, Jameis Winston, who was great, DTR, and Bailey Zappi. I know the quarterback room is shaky, but they're going to start off there with Joe Flacco, and I think David Njoku could be a top 5 scorer through the first 5 weeks, and then you can decide whatever the hell you want to do with him. But I think the game script could be a positive for a, over the middle type of guy. Think about it. You're constantly down in games, needing to throw the ball throughout the entire game. Over the middle of the field, the defense is not going to give up much behind you. They're okay to give up the little stuff. That's where David Njoku just thrives. I think he could be that gross garbage time guy again in 2025. All right. Draft with me every night this offseason on the FastDraft app, where there are over $250,000 in prizes waiting to be won. Getting started is easy. Download the FastDraft app, use the promo code LAND at signup to get your deposit match up to $50. That is 10 free drafts on us. And when you finish your first real money contest, I'll send you my 2025 rookie report and season rankings completely free. Check out the link in the pinned comment to start drafting today. At the running back spot, we've talked about this group a bunch this offseason, but James Conner and Trey Benson, I want both of them. James Conner's going in the 5th round. Cardinals are currently projected to be top 10 in points per game as well as rushes per game. And for those who remember our strength of schedule video 2 weeks ago, we talked about how easy their schedule was to open up the season. No running back room has an easier schedule to open up the year. They have the Saints, Panthers, and 49ers, all huge plus matchups. On average, in those first 3 games, Arizona running backs face defenses that last year allowed plus 20.8% more fantasy points than a running back's typical output. Now, of course, teams change from one year to the next, but it looks cupcake to start. And for Conner, he's coming off a year where he averaged just under 16 points per game on great efficiency, 4.6 yards per carry. Last year, out of 46 running backs with 100 attempts, he ranked 6th in PFF grade, top 13 in yards per carry and yards after contact per attempt, 5th in missed tackles force, top 4 in 10 plus yards, run. He actually was the same as Bijan Robinson in that category, more 10 plus yard runs than Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, James Cook, Devon Achane, and he was 6th in yards per out run. He was great through the air. Then the Cardinals signed him to a long-term extension, 2 years. Even as a Trey Benson stan myself, I think it'd be foolish for the Cardinals not to feed him the rock if he continues to be that guy in 2025. And for Benson, you get a shot at this backfield, but 77 picks later. I mean, we saw some incredible flashes from him last year from week 3 onwards out of 70 running backs with at least 40 rushing attempts. In that span, he was top 5 in yards per attempt, top 6 in yards after contact per attempt, top 7 in elusive rating, and 24th in yards per out run. In that span, he averaged more fantasy points per touch than J.K. Dobbins, Najee Harris, Brian Robinson, Swift, Stevenson, Pollard, McCaffrey, and Jonathan Taylor. At ADP, I think you can target both of these names in Arizona. All right, at the wide receiver position, look, this guy's probably not like undervalued or something, but I wanted to bring him just because I wanted to give you the confidence to select him. I think people find it hard to select this name. That is T. Higgins. So he's going in the 3rd round. I want to give you all the confidence in the world to feel comfortable taking T. Higgins should you choose to. Number 1, the Bengals are projected to be top 12 in points per game. I think top 12 is very, very reserved. I think they could be top 5, honestly, with the weapons they have. But they're also projected to be 1st in passes per game this year. The passing attack in Cincinnati is the entire identity of the team. Honestly, they are the only team in the NFL to have 2 wide receivers in the top 8 for total contract value at the position. No other team is close, right? They're paying T. Higgins 115 over 4 and Chase 161 over 4. And of course, we know the quarterback is being paid top 3 money in Joe Burrow. No team in the entire NFL has shown more commitment to the passing game than the Cincinnati Bengals. Oh, and by the way, their best defensive player is currently holding out. I mean, at the time of recording this video, maybe that changes by the time you're watching it. I don't know. But my goodness, Bengal fans, you better hope to God that that does change. It could be great for fantasy for these offensive weapons, but it could be terrible for your season. Jared Smith noted that without Hendrickson on the field in the last 2 years, the Bengals were dead last in pressure rate, completion rate allowed, success rate allowed, passer rating allowed. Last in all those categories. Either way, coming off an 18.5 point per game season, the wide receiver 5 on a points per game basis for T. Higgins. Then they sign him to a long-term contract with a team that's projected to throw the ball more than anyone else. Stop playing with yourself. You can draft T. Higgins with some confidence. I know he's going to get injured, but he's going to win you your league if he's healthy in the playoffs. All right, T. Higgins early. David Njoku late. It's one of my favorite starts in my best ball tournaments. I just drafted a team specifically with that start. I'm drafting over on FastDraft. The Rabbit is a 15-round, 1 quarterback start 8 format. And the first version of this tournament already filled. We're now on to the second version of this tournament, and it's still released just this month. It used to be a $20 entry. Now with the new tournament available, it's just a $10 entry with the same $50,000 prize pool. And look, these best ball FastDraft tournaments are not meant to replace your home league. It's supposed to, give you opportunity to practice. You just get to draft, let it ride. There's no commitment in season. You get to practice in some real drafts where the ADP really matters. So if you want to draft with me on the FastDraft app, download it, use the promo code LAND, get your deposit matched up to $50. And then when you finish your first contest, I'm going to send you my cheat sheet for the 2025 season completely free, as well as my rookie report. DM me if you sign up. I would love to add you to my group chat where we're doing community drafts together. But man, I appreciate you guys so much for watching the video. Do me a favor, hit that like button to show some love. If you found something valuable in the video, subscribe as well. We appreciate you guys keeping FantasyLand afloat here with your love and with your support. And enjoy the rest of your video. well, rest of your day rather, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Yeah, all right. Have a good day. If you're thinking about supporting us in this economy, that's big love, and you deserve love in return. So for every yearly Mother Flocker member who uses the promo code LAND, we're giving out a free team playbook, our 2025 rookie report, access to all premium tools, free site vouchers, and of course, a huge thank you from the LAND crew. You're far too kind. That's love.